Hey, welcome back. Okay, so I recognized two mistakes thanks to feedback from the videos. So let's get those corrected right away. The first one is in the German deck, we drew the Piper card. I don't remember the exact situation, but I do remember the numbers. So we had a situation that was similar to this, where the Piper card was drawn. It has a command value of 0, and then you can see that the other card had a command value of 1. It basically states that if you don't have a primary, right, it's whichever one has the higher command value becomes the command card, and then this one becomes a support card. However, there's a rule that says that if it's the Piper card, the Piper becomes the command card, and then whatever the other card is automatically the support card, no matter what. But then there's an exception to the rule. So that Piper card is the exception to the rule, and now there's an exception to the rule, and that is on December 16th, you don't make this the priority. I mean, it's ridiculous, but that is the rule. And here you can see it states right here on the handout that on December 17th and 18th, if one of the cards is the Piper, then it becomes the command and the other one's the support, no matter what. And that's only on December 17th and 18th. It's not on December 16th, which is what I did. So anyways, I got that wrong. I don't think it turned out badly for the Germans at all, so I'm not going to worry about it. But for those of you that are watching and using this as an instruction or tutorial, please make sure you note that I played it wrong. And you know, if you want to have a more perfect game, make sure you don't do what I did. There. The other thing is somebody was bringing something up, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And sure enough, I found under the German attack check. We did this correctly, by the way, except there was a thing at the end. So we go through and we do all of our modifiers to determine whether or not it's called situational strength, as you can see there highlighted in bold. We find the situational strength and determine whether or not the Germans are going to attack. So then you have this little table over here, and it says if it's greater than 4-to-1 odds or 4-to-1 ratio, you know, they're going to attack no matter what. And then you cancel if it's blah, 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 and canceled if it's less than 1-to-1. But if it's between 1-to-1 and less than 4-to-1, then we roll a die and we consult this table. So up to this point, I did it correctly. The part that I missed is right here below the table is a die modifier. It says subtract 1 for each of the following that applies. And you can see right there on December 16th, it's an automatic subtraction of 1. So if you look real quick at the table, you can see that it gets more aggressive the lower the number is. So if I roll a 10, then there's a real good chance the Germans are going to be conservative and they're going to break off the attack. If I rolled a 0, they're attacking no matter what. So you can see there that the aggression gets, you know, improved, or they become more aggressive as the number gets lower. Excuse me. So with that said, on December 16th, I was supposed to always subtract 1 when I rolled the die. And we rolled the die like 3 or 4 times. So it may have impacted, there might have been 1 or 2 times where I said the Germans won't attack, and actually they would have. So I didn't bother rewatching the video to determine when that would or wouldn't. But again, for your edification and for rules completeness, that's a very important one. And you can see there's 3 other bullets that apply even when it's not December 16th. And so we're going to have to keep those in mind. One is if the attacker is elite and the defender is not, and that, of course, would be the Germans, would be elite. And then another one is if an army or army group card was played, which was impossible on December 16th. And then the last one is if there was a combat tactic that was applicable. That one is actually pretty common. So we might have even had like -2 modifiers on a few spots. Anyways, I just wanted to make sure that was well understood. I definitely got that piece wrong. So we are on December 17th, And let's get rocking. We start here. We take our units from the calendar space and put them in. We did. And then, of course, the delayed rule is going to start on the 18th. The OKW is definitely not coming out yet. So then we do card prep, which I basically did, but let's go through it. Reinforcement cards are entered. Shuffle supplemental. We did that. We placed the previous day primary face down, shuffled the draw pile. And starting on December 19th, the Germans were going to have fading initiative. But right now they're in full bore attack, which historically is when they were doing well. So, so for December 17th and 18th, we're going to have to deal with their full deck of cards. But after the 19th, there's going to be a certain number that's going to be discarded for the current day, and it's going to be written on the calendar over there. Okay, so now we got the supply phase. German detachments don't happen until the 18th. Supply status of German units doesn't happen until the 19th. But Allied units starts on the 17th, and we are going to have supply issues. In fact, quite a few. And we can place a low supply marker in an unsupplied unit. Allied air interdiction. We can play an air power event to discard the top 2 cards of the German deck and also skip the first German impulse of the day. All right, that's something that we can do. So let's do, well, let's just do the supply check first. And I actually do have an air power card, except air power. So so I have this card that has air power on it, but see how it says December 20th? Am I allowed to play that as part of the Allied interdiction? I don't know. I'm looking to see if I have air power written anywhere else, and I don't. So that's an interesting one. You may play an air power event to discard the top 2 cards. It says section 5.1. So let me look that up. I know I just said we were going to do supply first, but this is bugging me. It says you may play an air power command event from your hand. I'm going to assume that because the card says that it doesn't go into effect until December 20th, that I couldn't do that now, even though it says it. So I'm going to leave it be. Okay, supply. All right, so we have, this is really nice. It talks about tracing supply. You can trace a path of 4 hexes from the unit to a hex, basically to a road. That's a valid supply head. And a supply head just simply means it goes off to the edge of the map. If you're crossing an unbridged river, the length is shortened to just 1 hex, which is a huge mistake I made. I'm not playing this game very smart right now. In fact, I'm going to lose some units because of my lack of strategy here. And this is where it's coming out. You can't go through enemy towns or hexes. However, you can use friendly units. So let's go through. A real easy example was like this one. There's no zone of control here from the enemy, so I can easily go, even though there's zone of control here, I can easily go 1, 2, and now I'm on a supply head because this road goes off the edge of the map. Okay, so this is in supply. I couldn't go along the road because the Germans do have that blocked, but I still have this available to me. So that's an example of being in supply, okay? Now, as we go up, he's in supply, he's in supply. We really don't have that many units, but this one is not because he's surrounded and therefore all the hexes are covered. So we have to do he's in low supply right now. So this is low supply, and then there's out of supply, and then there's oh gosh, whatever this means again, I can't remember. Isolated, that's what it is. And then after it's isolated, then they're going to start rolling a die to see if they desert or surrender or whatever. Okay, the problem is I have the same problem here. So no, these are my units. Never mind. This guy is not surrounded. Actually, he is for a different reason. This has a zone of control here. This one has it there. I can go this way, but this way is not helping me. So, for example, I can go 1 to here, but then I have nowhere to go. Okay, I can't go there, there, or there, so he's out of supply, or low supply. So we'll put that on him. He is surrounded, so he's low supply. This is our problem, is we're getting a lot of low supply. This one is surrounded, so he's low supply. So now maybe you can appreciate my strategy mistakes here. This one, now we're getting into some interesting rules here. This one is surrounded. However, he has an adjacent unit, so he can go to here for 1, and then he can go here for 2, and then this road goes all the way out. So we're totally fine. Now this guy has a similar situation, but he can easily go 2 spaces to here and get out. Now this road here is covered by this. Now the Vonderheit, we don't do German supply checks with Vonderheit. I mean, he's out of ammo, yes, but he's not going to degrade and get worse. Not until, I think, December 18th. So he's fine for now. But he's a bracketed unit, so there's no zone of control with him. So he's not blocking any roads. He's not doing any of that stuff. So he's just there. So our supply paths, as long as we can get to a road, is fine. And this one here, even though he's surrounded, he easily can go 1, 2, and then take a road and buckle his shoe. Okay, so however, the entire middle, I'm in low supply, and those are my only units defending the middle. So we definitely need to rectify that, or either free them up, which we can do. There's a couple things we can possibly do, but the other thing is we have to, we're in trouble in the middle, and as the game and history explains, this is a bulge, and they're bulging our middle right now, and we're not doing a good job of holding it back. Okay, so that's it for there. Oh, excuse me. I was trying to hold back a cough. Okay, I am looking at this again. So the Allied air interdiction we can't do. I would like to, but I don't see. I mean, this card does say air power, but we already talked about this one. Can't do that. There's no air power on these other ones, and that's the issue. We do have raise the alarm again, and yeah, there's no air power on any of them. Okay, so we finished the supply phase. So then we're going to start the German impulse, so they get to go. So we're rocking and rolling. It's really funny, but the German solo game, it's recommended you do that first because it's easier. I am happening to find that this is easier to play, to be quite honest. I fully confess, though, that this is easier to play because I've played the German solo game and had all the corrections of people telling me what I was doing wrong. And so once you understand the game, in some of the ways that the game works, this is easier. So it's really hard for me to tell you that this would have been easier to start with first. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think as a game, this is easier to play. Now, the 14 whatever movement checks you have to do for the Germans is very cumbersome. I don't really enjoy that. But the thing I like about this one that makes it easier is the damn roadblock checks. I don't like the roadblock checks. There were just so many of them, and then these invisible units that just appear out of nowhere. It was a little annoying that with the German solo game. And then you had all the different hold values you always had to constantly check and look at. This one is just a little more straightforward. They're going for, you know, this particular objective or that particular objective, and that's the direction they're moving. And if you're in the way, then they're going to attack you. So I just appreciate that a little bit more. But anyways, I don't mean to belabor this. I just was saying that this feels easier to play. Now, I'm not sure. I'd have to think more about which one should you start with if this is your first time playing. Somebody recommended to me a long, long time ago to just play the two-player game where I play both sides, right? So I would play as the Germans, and then I would just flip and play as the Allies, right? And I'd just play the two-player game and not mess with the AI at all. And I have to confess, I think that would have been the smarter thing to do because then you would at least gotten a lot of the basic concepts figured out before you had to deal with the AI on top of it. Anyways, here we are. I don't think I'm doing all that bad, to be honest. I did miss some big rules this last time, but I still think that the outcome of the game is not that drastically different than it would have been. I think the Germans are doing quite fine at this point. So let's grab some cards here and see this primary. That means that it's the primary no matter what. So this is going to be the command, and then this is going to be the support. And the support says that it will do an event if there's an event there, but this is a special card. That's not the event card. So the Eisenhower hesitates is not happening because this is not an event, it's a special. So this card will be played as a support card, which will probably very likely add artillery for them. Okay, so what do? We're going to activate all units in the 85th Corps. So that would be these guys here. There's not that many of them. And we got to do that big... Oh, I need to take a quick break, and I will see you in a few seconds. Thank you.